Creighton's got a new figure, and a classic one too. Here's your look at the brand new McFarlane Toys DC Universe DC Classics Scarecrow. Dr. Jonathan Crane has spent as much time lurking in the dark corners of the human psyche as he has hiding in the shadowy parts of Gotham City. Obsessed with the idea of fear in its many forms, Crane has adopted the role of the Scarecrow, a living embodiment of things that go bump in the night. A career supervillain, Scarecrow lives to clash with the Batman, intent on making the Dark Knight cower in fear. Fear can take many forms. Luckily, though, for fans of Scarecrow, it took the form of another figure. Before, though, we get a close look at the new DC Universe DC Classic Scarecrow, first I'd like to thank Popeye the Toy Man. A name you've heard before, a name you'll hear again, because actually I just bought a whole ton of DC Universe, DC Multiverse classics off of him. We will be looking at all through this week. Taking, though, the tape measure right to the very top of Crane's head, including, of course, his straw hat. That's part of the figure, after all. You're looking at classic Scarecrow standing 6 3/4 of an inch in height, working out to be a figure that's about 19.5 centimeters tall. Two things you won't catch me saying is this the first time we've gotten a Scarecrow, and that this is the first time we've gotten a comic-looking Scarecrow. That one already gotten beat, though, by the Infinite Frontier release of him, although many would look at that not necessarily see Crane. It's kind of a cool-looking design. So cool, in fact, that McFarlane released as well a black light version of him that took these colors and made them a lot brighter. Prefer, though, your Jonathan Crane to be more movie accurate? Well, of course, they've got you covered there as well. They did release, though, a straitjacket version of Jonathan Crane. They also released Scarecrow in all his suit. There is also a fourth and final figure, one that I don't actually have right now. He's somewhere sitting inside of a tote. There was also an Arkham series version of Scarecrow, too. I know what you're thinking. Come on, man. You're not likely going to be picking up a Scarecrow and displaying him with the other of the same character. You probably will end up displaying him with the other rogues of Gotham City. Let's back it up just a bit, though, and bring in a Batman. This happens to be one of my favorite Batman. We already know that by now. This is the Nightfall Batman. Let's bring also a Silver Age Robin for size. As for the rest of the rogues of Gotham City, let's bring in a Classics Deathstroke. That was a really cool looking figure. Maybe not as cool, though, as a Classics Riddler. Still one of my favorites. A classic Two-Face, bringing him in as well. He isn't Classics, but he's sort of got the classic colors. Here's also what he looks like with Victor Freeze or Mr. Freeze. I'd love, though, if they could release a Classics Mr. Freeze. Over here, let's bring in Deadshot. Let's bring in Classics Joker. I don't know if he's going to necessarily be fitting in frame. Let's just put him in the back here. Here's also what he looks like. Not necessarily with the Classics, one that got packed at least with a Batman. Here's also what they look like with Nightfall Bane. That was a lot of figures. Not as many accessories, though. The figure first does come included with a display stand. One nice treat, though, is that they actually have now giving it the silver DC logo. I still feel like it's in all the wrong places. This needs to be turned around. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I've spent way too much time in way too many videos talking and complaining about the fact that DC logo, I feel, needs to be turned around. Just take that steering wheel, course correct it just a little bit. You can, though, use the peg that's provided, just adjacent to that. That can plug in, though, to either one of Scarecrow's feet. The figure does also come included with a trading card that can't attach onto his feet. It says Carnival of Criminals, and it says Not for the Faint of Heart with Professor of Fear, the living Scarecrow. I don't know. I don't know if I would have really gone with this picture as being my choice for Scarecrow. I mean, there's so many better images, I feel, of a classic-looking Scarecrow. I feel, though, if you're going to be doing classics of anything, release, though, like the first appearance of them. Like, do the first comic issues, the first appearances of Scarecrow. Put the issue actually on it. I don't know when it comes to licensing and what they have available at their luxuries. But yeah, just think, if that was actually the first appearance of Scarecrow, where it said, now introducing, I don't even know what it would have said on the front of the cover, but if it said, now introducing the Scarecrow, that would have been pretty cool. On the back, though, quite a mini read. You can read it for yourself if you want. I've already taken the liberty of reading it at the very beginning. I think I did an okay job. An A-okay job. His real name, though, is Dr. Jonathan Crane. I'm sure you already know that. Let's put that off to the side. Okay, so the figure does come included with a couple of accessories. One accessory I like, one accessory I'm kind of, I don't know, on the fence a bit about. The figure, on the one that is a little more on the fence, I would say it's the skull. Some like the idea, I would imagine, that a skull be included. After all, he is the Master of Fear. The skull doesn't have any hingeable jaw or anything like that. For what it is, it's decently detailed. No, you can't swap it out with Scarecrow's head. I thought that for a second before I actually got this guy out of his plastic prison. He finally was able to breathe. But no, there's no actually peg hole on the bottom of this. yeah, can't really swap it out. I think too also, if you look at this and you look at the size of the skull, maybe the skull is undersized just a bit. I mean, it's clearly more intended to be displayed in his hand. You can take the skull and just sort of wedge it in between his fingers. I mean, it doesn't do the greatest jobs of holding. I guess it does. Does it survive the blizzard test? Oh, it does. It does. I shouldn't tempt Lady Luck like this. But I guess you could hold it. I honestly, though, I would have probably used the plastic for something else. As we get the example, though, just getting the stand here, as we get the example of the sickle, not that I would say he necessarily need a scythe. If you have a sickle, you don't need a scythe. If you have a scythe, you don't necessarily need a sickle. The sickle, though, is pretty nicely detailed. It's pretty rubbery and plastic. It does have some rust also on there, some like little notches and scratches and stuff. This is an aged sickle. This isn't a sickle he's just gone to the store and bought like Michael Myers, even though Michael Myers isn't buying anything. Michael Myers, come on, it's not buying crap. He's going in and just stealing everything. But this isn't a pristine looking sickle. No, in fact, this looks pretty old and rusted. It does fit into his hand, although it doesn't fit very well. Before I actually put it into his hand, going sort of with the idea of farm equipment, I would have probably also included a pitchfork. Now, this is the guy that's saying this behind the camera, that has not invested in producing this figure, is not responsible for making the figure. It's solely just my personal opinion. I would have rather included, again, not only a pitchfork, rather than just including, again, the skull. And I also would have included, I mean, they've done this for Flash. Just, again, like some gassy effects that could have maybe wrapped around his leg or wrapped around his arm. Just something really cool and imposing. I'm sure they probably could have used it from some other figure that they have already produced, or if they do produce like a cloudy smoke, maybe done all casted in green plastic, there would be a good likelihood they probably could use that again for another figure. I don't know what figure that would be. Again, speaks only the guy that's behind the camera that has no, again, invested budget in producing these figures from scratch. I have nothing to do with the actual designing process. You get the idea. Again, the sickle does fit into his hand. The hand, though, is pretty hard in plastic. So already I had to heat the hand in hot water to actually get the sickle in his hand. And even then, with the time that I've yammered on about not producing squat, the plastic unfortunately has cooled on the hand. So it does fit into his hand. It doesn't fit all that well. I would certainly recommend maybe doing a lot more of a time to heat this up in hot water. I only had this soaking for just a few seconds. I probably could have had that soaking just a little bit longer. But he holds the sickle. He holds it just... Okay. Taking the sickle and putting it off to the side for right now. Yeah, I mean, the skull is okay. It's a nice little nod to the fact that he is, after all, the master of fear, but I don't know. I think a cloud of green smoke, something to wrap around his hand, maybe even, again, a pitchfork. I think I would have rather gone to that category of accessories than necessarily a skull. You agree with that? It's okay if you don't. You can let me know down below. You may also want to let me know down below, too, what you guys think of this guy's head sculpt. I think it is perfect. I don't know if I really would have done anything differently when it comes to Scarecrow. I know Scarecrow has taken forms, again, like we've looked at the Infinite Frontier. There's the Arkham series game, Scarecrow, that again has like the syringes on his fingers. I really probably should have found that figure, but for me, at least, if you were to ask me, I mean, you don't even have to put me on a lie detector test. I would have admittingly, honestly said, my favorite look to the character is the look that you're looking at right now. I like that he's got a stitched mouth. That's one thing that's really cool about him. He does also have glowing, beady red eyes. Now, I've seen some images where people have had glowing eyes on theirs. I think they probably have just gone in there and edited it after the fact. But I think the eyes glow well enough on their own. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I love the fact he's got the hat, the old straw hat, torn, tattered, and ripped, just the way I like it. That plastic that they've used actually for the hat is more of a softer plastic. No, you can't remove the hat. I was thinking that too. They could have maybe added a removable hat, but I know, again, that's added cost. But again, I love the fact that they've added the little rope here. The rope drapes off the side too. That's a nice little fun touch. And of course, he does also have the noose. The noose is harder to see from the front. It's a lot easier to see on the back. The noose, as you can see, does tie up in a knot, and you've got the little strands of rope coming down from that. He does also have a collar piece. Now, the collar does sit relatively loose. I mean, it's going to be moving around a lot while you're trying to move the figure's articulation. Speaking, though, around his collar, one small little thing I would certainly say, I wish that the neck was longer on Scarecrow. I mean, I know it's from the design of the character, he's generally just like a burlap sack mask, and it's part of the mask that he has this collar. I would have, though, made the neck just a little bit longer. The neck seems Florence Pugh kind of shortness. It seems way too short. I would have made that neck a little bit longer. Just, again, personal preference. The body overall looks good. It's a little on the thick side here for the torso. Maybe they could have leaned it up just a little bit. I do like the length of his arms. I love that they have straw also sticking out the ends of the sleeves. It got a nice torn off, tied up rope there in the middle there as well. The rope actually does seem like it's a separate piece. If we lift this up, you can see that there's a peg right here. And if I get my blasted finger out of the way, there's actually a hole right here. So the rope seems like it's supposed to attach right there. But yeah, it's just it's a separate rope piece. The skirting also is something, too, that's a continuation from... I love that this looks like it's been wrapped up. Like he's just a wrapped up piece of straw. This would be the kind of thing that would be keeping crows away. Like that they've also added sewn-on patches. Now, the patches themselves are more suggested by only printing them on there. They're not actually sculpted onto the plastic. So it could be a case that they're probably going to maybe use these legs again. I don't know really who else they could use these for, because again, like the nature of this all sort of checks the boxes of what Jonathan Crane would be. The one other thing I would say is like that the feet seem stubborn, seem a little more on the stubborn side. Yeah, there's a little bit of more brighter plastic that you can kind of see just underneath the pant leg, but most of that's only being covered over by the pants anyways. No, I do find like the feet seem like there's a bit of resistance when I find I want to be pushing the feet up and down. You can rock them back and forth there as well. Maybe I just need to tighten up the joints, or loosen, I should say, the joints a little bit more than what they are. But yeah, there's not really much at all I would have changed the Scarecrow. The design is good. If anything could be said, I probably would have just changed out some of the accessories. Again, some may like the look of the skull. I think I probably would have preferred a pitchfork, or again, like green gassy effects. Just something, again, that you could have wrapped maybe around his leg, wrapped around his arm. And then, of course, have him displayed with the sickle in his hand, or maybe a pitchfork. For the figure's articulation, or his posability, if you prefer, Scarecrow's head is going to be on a ball joint. It does move up and down. Mine, I've noticed, though, is a little on the tighter side. But it looks down, it looks up. You can also rock it back and forth. And yeah, you could technically rotate it all the way around. It gets a little on the more tied up side when it tries to rotate, but it can do that if you want to. The figure does also have what seems like a ball joint at the base of the neck. Is it? No, maybe it's not. No, it's one sculpt. So he only has just the ball joint in his head, just at the top of the neck. The top of the torso, though, on the other hand, is on a ball joint. So you can move it up and down. You rotate it back and forth. You can rock it this way. You can also move it forward and back this way as well. The figure does also have a waist swivel, so that's good to see as well. Arms rotate all the way around. No issues there. Can you pull off a T-pose? Can you pull off a 90-degree angle? The answer is yes. Yes, you can. You give him a nice big hug. It's okay, Crane. Not everybody is afraid of you. I'm not afraid of being your friend. Aw, that's nice. That's deep. The figure does also have quite the deep swivel cut in his bicep. He also does possess a double hinge in his elbow, and the hands rotate. If I can get behind the straw, that is, do rotate back and forth and all the way around. Legs do split, although they only split so far just by the fact that the skirt goes down as much as it does. You can move the legs forward and you can move them back. There's a nice bit of swivelage at the top of the thigh, double hinge on the knee. And then again, like we were talking about before, there is a little bit of reluctancy when it comes to those ankles wanting to move. I thought maybe some of it had also to do with the fact that the drape down tattered area of his pants get then in the way of trying to move the ankles. But I think if you have them this way, yeah, they're going to be hitting this. If you have it this way, though, I think there's a little bit more freedom. And the figure does also have some toe articulation as well. Good looking Scarecrow. Great looking Scarecrow. Again, like I know some people, collectors just in general, look at this and think, oh no, it's another Batman. Or it's a Batman related character. And that's not bad. That's not a bad thing at all. I've said this before. I think really generally when it comes to McFarlane toys, are they losing the license in 26? I feel like it is. But if they are going out in a big way. They're producing like the classic looking characters, the figures that I really wanted right from day one. I mean, again, like there's Infinite Frontier Scarecrow is fine and good if you like Infinite Frontier. Where is Infinite Frontier Scarecrow? Let's bring him back. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like one of the more earliest releases of Scarecrow that we've gotten from, again, Todd and his team. Some like that look, and I like the look, but still in the end, in the back of my mind, I was still thinking to myself, I want a classic Scarecrow. I want the Scarecrow that, as to go back and look at some of the comics I did as a kid, that would be the look of the character that I would have really liked. And now I can finally say that I have a figure in my collection that goes really well with like the likes of a classic Two-Face. Or like a Riddler, still one of my favorite Riddlers. He's big, he's bulk, it's okay. But yeah, just a great design of the character. And again, a classic looking Joker. We'll just get Joker right there. I don't love Joker's head. I kind of really wish that the head could have been a bit better than what it actually is. And also, too, when you're looking at the sizing, too, Scarecrow is more on the taller side. I mean, if you were to compare him like the Clown Prince of Crime or Two-Face, Scarecrow sits a lot higher than that just because, again, he also does have the hat on his head. He's a little bulkier than what I really would have preferred. I do wish kind of like his torso was a little more tapered off, a little more narrower, but other than that, though, man, oh man, what a great looking figure. I'm finally glad to see that we can have not only a classic looking Scarecrow to put on the shelf, but that we also have classic, how many times have I said that word? We also have classic other rogues gallery that can be displayed along with them. Frights of the Scarecrow is what it does actually say in the first appearance of Scarecrow from Batman number 189 way back in 1968. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, man, hey, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on the first appearance of Scarecrow. Well, if you look on eBay, as a Canadian, at least for collecting comics, expect to pay about $300 to $350. I don't have $350. I certainly don't have that much money to be spending on a first issue comic. But take that, though, idea and shrink it down. Now, imagine if that was the first appearance and they featured it on the front of the trading cards. Now, first of all, I will say that Todd is listening. I mean, getting away from figure photography. Figure photography never really worked for a trading card. Who really wants to look at an image of a figure that you already have in front of you? But using source material is fine and good. Sometimes, though, these trading cards do sort of feel like they just randomly plucked some random picture of Scarecrow. And in the case of the one that they end up using for Carnival of Criminals, I don't think it really does best represent Jonathan Crane. Whereas maybe using the first appearance would be a fun included touch. Again, they don't have to do it with every figure, but to do it with the DC Classics, I think, again, would be a fun thing to include. Speaking of things that they included, though, if we're looking at Scarecrow here and his two accessories, not, of course, including the stand, you get a sickle, which is cool. You get a skull, which I feel is less cool. I mean, I get some people really liking the idea of he's the master of fear, after all. Why not include a skull? I feel like maybe, again, a pitchfork or like smoky whiffs of green clouded smoke wrapped around his arms or maybe wrapped around his legs would be a fun thing to include instead. Just my own personal opinion. It goes to show, though, with the design of Scarecrow, there are some character designs that are timeless. To go back and look at Batman number 189 as the example, Scarecrow really doesn't change all that much. He's still got the torn kind of brown outfit. His face looks a little different, but not that much different than what we're looking at right now. And you got to think, though, like that's the Silver Age Scarecrow. Scarecrow looked this way for many years before, of course, new design teams come in and they want to redesign everything from scratch. So, like, now that's why we get an Infinite Frontier Scarecrow. I get why some people didn't like that look. I like that Scarecrow. I don't like it, though, as much as a classic looking look design of the character. And I'm glad that as we get near the end of the DC Multiverse lineage with what McFarlane Toys has been doing, he seems, I feel, still to be churning out some of the best figures he has in years in like the last 2 years or so. You know, again, like I know he really is heavily into Batman. I'm heavily into Batman, so I don't mind. I can understand why some people would just say, oh, are we still, can we get away from Batman for just a little bit? But at least, though, you can say that's got to be one of the coolest looking Scarecrows we've ever gotten. Now, for me, like as we again will get near the end of the license, I can think to myself, there are still a few characters that, as a big Batman fan, I would love to still see them release. My wish list, top of my list, would be Preston Payne's Clayface. I think it's a very low unlikelihood that we're ever going to be getting a Clayface. Maybe another one, definitely probably not Preston Payne. The one wish that I would certainly have is if McFarlane Toys could release a Mud Pack 4-pack of the Clayfaces. The Lady Clayface, Preston Payne, all those Clayfaces. But again, the likelihood of that ever happening to accommodate just this one Canadian collector, probably not going to happen. What other characters, though, would you guys like to see? Would it be classic? Maybe some of the characters, though, that McFarlane hasn't touched yet. Maybe something that's not even related to Batman. What other characters before the license runs out would you like to see Todd and his team produce? Let me know down below. In the meantime, though, I'd like to thank Popeye the Toy Man. That is, though, a name that you're probably going to be hearing a couple more times this week, as just recently I actually met up with the guy and picked up a big stack of not only DC Multiverse figures, but a couple of other figures as well. So we're going to be looking at all those. In the meantime, though, if you guys did enjoy this video, not thinking of the others, do it the solid and throw it a like. If you guys want to stick around for more, so I hope so. Hit the subscribe and, of course, turn on that bell. Turning on the bell gives you the notification, and it tells you every single time a new video posts. Don't be the guy that's running down the street, tears running down your face. Oh, I missed out on another guy's video. Don't be that guy. Be the guy that says, hey, did you just see the new TheReviewSpot video? It's totally rad. I hope that more rad videos are going to be popping up in front of your peepers in the upcoming days. So I hope you guys are going to be coming back for those. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.